And without further ado, I'm going to bring us into what is the week 5 preview. Just going to assume that, Zach will either come during the show or, he won't make it. So
Mm.
I'm going to do the intro. I'm going to find a place to work it in because I'm going to use probably a good bunch of what we just talked about. I think that was cool. And then we'll transition back to it or allude to it where I'll just be like, wow, this is a super late intro. But here we are with our week 5 preview. We are missing once again another member of the SRTFP crew. Zach, we'll see you again soon. That being said, Tev, Charlie, and I are trekking on into the next week of football. And we already got a taste of that. And Charlie, once again, proving us wrong. And here he is to rub our faces in it. Charlie, what are your thoughts on Justin Fields' newfound confidence and poise as a star quarterback of the Chicago Bears?
I wasn't really expecting those type of performances. Like especially coming off like a short week against a expectedly a pretty decent defense against like the Washington Commanders, but Justin Fields was on point, especially to DJ Moore, who basically took about 90% of the passing yards. DJ Moore was just so elite. Justin Fields looked like a good quarterback inside the pocket. Didn't really have to do too much running. Like he didn't wasn't really in the game plan because they were like up on top so many times. But especially with the running backs hurt, all the running backs hurt, and the fullback Kyrie Blasting game having to go in there and take some carries. At the end, he had to run. But honestly, a really good performance by Justin Fields, and hopefully he stays like this for the rest of the year because Eberflus might actually keep his job for one more year if he keeps on playing like this.
Um, to continue on what you said about DJ Moore, we're gonna spin back about Justin. But to continue what you said, 8 catches, 230 yards, 3 TDs. Panthers fans, there's two sides of the coins. There's probably gonna be Panthers fans that are saying we knew he was a dog, why we trade him, yada yada yada. That's in the past. Going into the future, DJ Moore is him. DJ Moore kind of shut up the league, as in, was the Bryce trade probably one of the most even trades going down Twitter? You would see stuff like that because Bryce is probably one of the most underrated number one picks. That trade was so expected that when DJ Moore was announced, people weren't too really excited that DJ Moore ended up getting moved. They were more so excited that Chicago finally moved away from that first pick. So with Chicago investing into the future of this guy, this quarterback that we're not going to name because I was wrong about him, DJ Moore is turning into this dog, elite wide receiver, creating separation, then off the separation, breaking tackles and getting deep routes. He is breaking free and scoring on his own, and then creating separation and scoring on his own. And that's what they needed out there in Chicago. I can't remember the last time Chicago had a receiver at this talent level be able to win. We could say that he won them that whole first quarter. Am I wrong? That opening quarter, he won them that opening quarter. It's a team game.
Won them the whole game.
Yeah, damn near was their whole offense. But it's so hard to talk about guys like this because we're going to see a small sample size and guys are going to say, yo, that was just a fluke, this, that, the third. No, I feel like the defense came out prepared, not prepared enough for DJ Moore. And if we see situations like that more, we're going to see games like this. I'm not saying 3 TD games, 300 yards, but I'm saying we're going to see a guy be able to put up 150 on 8 catches, maybe a TD, 2 TD games. If Justin Fields can continue playing the way he is, because that's the type of wide receiver that DJ Moore is coming into year 8.
I'd love to come in and say that this was a fluke, that this was the Dick Butkus game. Rest in peace, Dick Butkus. And I think that level of motivation to lose an NFL legend on the day of a game like that, you definitely want to go out and represent. But the big thing for me was the Chicago Bears took care of business. Justin Fields, for the second straight time, 125 plus passer rating, 4 touchdowns in each game. I'm impressed with what we're seeing. We're seeing a sudden development, whatever you want to call it, increase in maturity I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing out of Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears offense. We saw Khalil Herbert before he got hurt, 10 rushes, 74 yards. But DJ Moore is a game changer with those kind of stats and those kind of plays. Even with Kendall Fuller gambling on what was a must stop third down and DJ Moore breaking free as a result of that, I think that doesn't take away from what a great game he had. I do want to shift the blame a little bit to Washington's defense because we see this team littered with names like Jonathan Allen, like Deron Payne,
Mm-hmm.
like Chase Young, who I was talking about, who just got his first sack in a little while, just a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
Not live up to the hype. That wasn't a pass rush that was getting pressure on Justin Fields. And I know, Charlie, you said that his rushing wasn't a big part of the game, but a few improvised plays. One where he bumbled a snap in the third quarter and still took off for the first down and was able to scramble and make a play. And I believe we saw him with about 10 rushes, 50 yards. So I'm really impressed. And I'm also really impressed with, once again, Sammy Sosa. Sam Howell, once again, 5 sacks, worst offensive line in the league. Even heading into this league, they gave up the most sacks in the NFL through 4 weeks. Now through 5 weeks, they can add another 5 to it. And Sam Howell still showing off despite that. He went for 37 of 51. He went for 388 yards, and he did have an early interception, but still finished with 2 touchdowns. And he's the reason that this offense looked like it had any hope. Eric Bieniemy situationally kind of struggled. I think that he did a good job of involving the right players. In terms of Curtis Samuel, you saw him get involved. Antonio Gibson had a good play. I think that Washington still has some hope, but that's a really embarrassing way to go down. More so for Ron Rivera. I'm really disappointed with that Riverboat Ron defense. And while we've kind of gone back and forth about how we feel about Ron and the job he's done this year, this is yet another hit and pushes him down to the hot seat, I believe, just a bit more.
I'm surprised that he didn't get fired last year. Like going into like this past offseason, I'm surprised he actually kept his job.
I think
I'm sorry
that's
to say
why
this, but I think it
Bieniemy
was
might be targeting the Washington offensive coordinator position. He might be the next head coach very, very soon. I'm impressed with what I'm seeing from this offense. Brian Robinson looks rejuvenated. I'm not impressed with what I'm seeing from this defense. And Ron Rivera came as originally the Panthers head coach, but he was also the defensive coordinator of the San Diego Chargers at the time that they were in San Diego. I'm very disappointed with Riverboat Ron slipping with this game. This felt like a must-win. This was a game that could help them stop the bleeding after losing their last 2. Could have kept them in a winning record 3-2, and instead kind of failing to do so. And with a lot of football to get into this week, I kind of want to shift the focus to another coach that is seemingly now on the hot seat after winning Coach of the Year just a year ago. Coach Brian Daboll and defensive coordinator Wink Martindale not looking forward to the Miami Dolphins. Wink Martindale saying that he slept like a baby thinking about the Dolphins. And by that, he means waking up every 2 hours, crying, using the bathroom, and trying to get himself back to sleep. That is the most absurd comment I've heard in a while for a coach to admit. But can you blame him?
I know I absolutely can't. This offense looks spectacular. This is the definition of speed. Like you have like three or four of the fastest players in the NFL on your team. Like this team is scary when it clicks. But I just want to wait until the playoffs for this Dolphins team to see how really good they are. Because when it gets cold, January, you're going up against defenses that are going to be performing out of their minds. They're going to be the do or die situation. I want to see how this offense goes. But going into the week against the Giants, I see no problem with this Dolphins team steamrolling this Giants roster. So I'm going to take the Dolphins in a dominant fashion.
Yeah. I've
You
been
doing
trying to
good
hold
over
back
there?
this laugh. I've been trying to hold back this laugh. The Giants are going to get beat like they stole something. We're seeing the Dolphins come off of a divisional loss. This is kind of listen. You know when you leave a plate of candy in front of a toddler, you say, "Yo, don't touch this," and instead of one piece, you could have them all. And the toddler's fighting for its life to not touch that candy. That's what the Dolphins are doing right now from not commenting on that. The Giants handed them a plate of candy and was like, yo, we can't even sleep before this game. And McDaniel was like, oh my God, I want to come out and tell them exactly what we're going to run the first whole quarter, tell them our entire script, tell them what we're practicing for, but we can't. That team, like you said, Charlie, is just way better than the Giants right now. The Giants, even if they were clicking, would have been a tough team for them to beat. But coming off of a loss and coming off of we could say a dirty loss after putting up that many points and that many yards to come out and do what they did last week. This is going to be a kind of a cleanup game for them. All right, everyone, let's go get our stats back up. Let's clean up our percentages and our catch percentages and defensive guys. Let's go grab some tackles. Let's go grab some INTs if we can. D-line, let's get some sacks. Let's go stat. Man, this is going to be bad. We're going to see some crazy stats.
I know.
Yeah, this could be another 70-point game.
I know we think this is going to be another beatdown, and I know I've been the biggest proponent of the Dolphins so far this season. But I want to bring up some stats to you guys. Kayvon Thibodeau with 2 sacks against the Seahawks was one of the lone bright spots of an absolute shellacking, and this Miami Dolphins team down potentially Taron Armstead for the game, still missing Connor Williams, just gave up the most sacks they have to Tua all season, 4 sacks. This Dolphins defense, too, has struggled. Giants are 30th in points per game allowed so far this season. You know who's right ahead of them at 29th? The Miami Dolphins. I think Daniel Jones might have a get-right game. He might be able to get his guys open against a relatively porous defense that still isn't going to have Jalen Ramsey until possibly the playoffs. So I'm taking the Dolphins. I'm sorry to mislead you guys. I'm still taking the Dolphins. We're right. There's no fucking way that the Dolphins are going to give this one up.
I actually got an update here for Teron Armstead. I just saw he's going to be on IR, but there's a chance for him to return later on in the season.
Okay, so it's not season ending, but still IR. The Giants are also missing Andrew Thomas. The Giants are also missing John Michael. What's his name? John Michael Schmitz. That's
John Michael Schmitz.
John Michael Schmitz. The Giants are also possibly going to be missing John Michael Schmitz and might have to switch up their offensive line again. I think that Daniel Jones is going to get right a little bit, but not enough to win this game. Give me the Dolphins, clean sweep. And moving on, there's another AFC East team taking care of things at home, hopefully against an NFC opponent. The New England Patriots are hosting the New Orleans Saints. This might be an offensive stinkfest, guys. We're talking about the 25th scoring offense of the New Orleans Saints playing against the 30th scoring offense of the New England Patriots. Do we have our eyes on anyone here this game?
I actually do this week. I have Chris Olave going for a massive week against this New England Patriots team without Christian Gonzalez, the rookie who's out for the season with a shoulder injury, and Matthew Judon, who's also going to be on IR for the short-term IR. But I think that this pass rush item without Judon, it's not really going to be there. I think with even adding J.C. Jackson, I still think he's not going to be that great. I think this is going to be a big week for Chris Olave. And speaking on that, I do think the Saints are going to win. Handle business pretty well, especially with Mac Jones not playing well. So I expect the Saints to win.
To continue, me and Charlie are probably going to have a few common points. Chris Olave is right on my eyes right there, especially coming off a not too dominant week. He's been dominant, I want to say, 95% of the time he's been drafted. Like we said, those number one receivers getting drafted and making immediate impact. Forgot to mention him in the newer class. He's one of those guys. He didn't have a great week last week. I feel like he should bounce back pretty well. Another guy I'm really looking at, I've been saying this every week, the Patriots have been playing, is Mac Jones. Mac Jones we're watching the development of a game manager. And that is different from what we've been seeing. We've seen game changers been developed. We've seen necessarily atrocious quarterbacks be developed. But we've never seen a natural game manager, a smart game manager become developed right in front of our eyes. And there's games that we could say that Mac Jones won because he is a game manager and is learning. I want to see what he could do. I want to see an explosive side of him and him win the game for them. But like Charlie said, the Patriots can't get it done without key factors. I see the Patriots losing in a close, upsetting fashion.
And also, we are seeing a kind of a sneaky player developing our own eyes with Mac Jones as well. Very sneaky, crappy person as well. If you remember from 2 weeks ago with the Sauce video, he did.
Yeah,
He did touch his nuts.
I mean, I remember also the ankle grab from Brian Burns a year ago. So, he just seems to me to be the Grayson Allen of the NFL in terms of the inexplicably dirty plays just always being by them. I can't really let him off the hook for that. And I can't really let Bill Belichick off the hook either. He just experienced his worst loss as a head coach. I think that, typically I would expect him to bounce back in Belichick fashion. The Belichick that I know, that I've shared a division with for the last however long I've watched football, being a Jets fan, would. But we haven't seen that with Mac Jones as his quarterback. There's been a disconnect there, and he just doesn't seem to have the tolerance for Mac Jones. You saw how his reaction was to that one interception that Mac threw. It's just we've never seen that side of Belichick before. He seems disgusted with his own team, and Bill O'Brien might get Mac on the right track. But I feel like we're seeing, once again, to bring a basketball comparison, I feel like what we're seeing with Mac right now is like watching Markelle Fultz lose his ability to shoot and having to watch it be retooled from square one. Where did it get broken? Why? Why did we put Matt Patricia as the offense coordinator in the first place? This seemed like a completely fixable thing, and Belichick seemed to Belichick himself. And because of that, I'm riding with you guys. We're seeing, once again, a top 10 scoring defense play against this New England Patriots team. Yeah, they're at home, but Mac has seemed to struggle. He's gotten some good throws off. He's looked better. I just don't think he's looked good enough to play to even be at a Baker level. I think Baker might be a good litmus test for Mac Jones, and until he proves it to me that he's on that level, I'm not taking him against the Saints, a team that Baker beat himself just a week ago. Give me the Saints. And another team that the Saints beat, Carolina Panthers, are the only winless team left in the NFL after the Bears win last night. The Panthers are going into the 3-1 Lions Ford Field with Motor City Dan Campbell. Bryce Young only 75 passer rating and only 2 touchdowns in his 3 games played. Miles Sanders, 3 yards per carry, 54 carries, 158 yards on the season. I can go on and on. A bright spot I can give is Adam Thielen, 287 yards in his 4 games as a Panther so far. But going into Detroit with a motivated Lions team and a rejuvenated fan base that's going to make this a tough spot to play all year, I'm not gonna hold you guys. Give me the Lions.
I agree with you as well. I think I'm gonna take the Lions, but I don't think it's gonna be a high scoring game as people expect this game to be. I think this is gonna be two up and coming good defenses going head to head, and I think this is gonna be a game where both quarterbacks are kind of mid. I think because with Miles Sanders running the ball very inefficiently, Montgomery, I think, is going to get stopped by Derek Brown in this defensive line. Frankie Louvu also has a really good run-stuffing linebacker. But in the end, I do think that the Lions are going to beat this Panthers team pretty badly. I'm going to take the Lions as well. I'm with you, Matt.
I mean, our team offensively, everyone sees what's going on offensively. We're not crisp at all. But, I mean, to switch to the defensive end, yeah, like you said, Charlie, man, me and Charlie are going to have a lot of points. Damn near the same. This is going to be a low-scoring game. To emphasize on Derek Brown, he's having a career year. 23 tackles and a sack already. He's, throughout these first 4 games, to put that in perspective, last year he only had 67 tackles, and then the year before that had 41. To have 23 already and to lead our team in tackles at D tackle, that's unheard of, and he's having a great year. So yeah, that run game should be affected by him and that D line. I can't necessarily say him alone is going to win us the game. So yeah, like you guys said, until this team could show me that they can unlock something on offense that hasn't shown itself all year, yeah, give me Detroit, and Oh man, embarrassing factor. They're gonna get a bounce back again.
But let me
Well,
actually pose you guys a question really quick. Do you think this is the week that Jameer Gibbs finally breaks out and becomes like that really true gadget player we expected him to be?
nope. I think we're going to see Jameer Gibbs on the shelf again. There's no reason to, unless the Panthers show us something new. I don't think the Lions are going to show us something new either. They're going to stick to the game plan that has won them 3 games so far. I think we're going to see more David Montgomery.
Ooh,
I think we're going to see the Lions once again lock down on the other side, the run game. They're the first ranked rushing defense in the league, going against a porous offensive line. So I think in terms of who we might see break out, I think Bryce Young might have a solid game because we're looking at players like Ryan Branch be limited in practice. We're seeing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on IR and Emmanuel Mosley, another member of that secondary, questionable for this upcoming week. I think that Bryce Young, despite the loss, could possibly show out against the 18th ranked passing defense, much lower ranked than the first ranked rush defense. So before we did possibly move on to the next game, I did want to point out a few reasons why I think that Tev and other Panthers fans should have optimism heading into week 5.
ooh, wait, we forgot to mention the biggest thing to come out this weekend for the Lions.
What would that be?
J-Mo Williams. J-Mo
Jamison
Williams.
Williams being, yeah, actually, yeah.
Oh yeah, Jameson Williams is back.
Jamison
Yeah,
Williams is
former.
returning after a 4-game suspension cut down from 6. It's a good time to bet on the Lions. No pun intended. Pun fully intended. Um,
Who would have thought 2 years ago we're saying bet on the Lions?
Yeah,
yeah, times have changed, and times will change again. We didn't go over the earliest game. We went right into the 1 o'clock games, but the Jaguars did not leave London and are playing there again this week against the Buffalo Bills. How are we feeling about this one?
what I think going into this game is that this game's going to be a huge upset with the Bills coming into London, them trying to get used to like the time difference, the 6 hour time difference compared to New York time to London time. But with Jacksonville's they're staying a week, I think this is going to be a pretty much an upset win for the Jaguars. I think that's going to be my upset pick of the week. I'm pretty confident on this upset pick. I think Trevor Lawrence is actually going to have a pretty good game against very good Bills defense. I know Von Miller is expected to play, finally returning off the ACL injury last year on Thanksgiving. They're still now with Tre'Davious White out for the rest of the season, but an Achilles injury. I think this is going to be another breakout game for Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley needs to get more in his offense, and if he does, this is going to be that's going to be their best chance to win. So I'm going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars on an upset.
See, I'm going to call an upset, but I'm going to call it a different type of upset. I'm saying the Bills upset the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. We understand that the Bills are the better team. I'm not saying in any way that Jacksonville is a better team than the Bills. But, I mean, you guys can quote me on this one. I'm pretty sure Trevor Lawrence's first win was overseas. He got his
I think
first
it
win
was.
overseas. Yeah, like I'm 99.9% sure his first
That
NFL
game
win was
against
overseas.
Miami, Urban Meyer's first win as an NFL head coach.
Yeah, so I mean, this is an area that's used to Jacksonville coming in and winning. They're not used to our type of Jacksonville that goes in and loses and looks, I mean, bad. I mean, Jacksonville usually looks good in London, hence why they say that's their second home field. You named a few key injuries to the Bills. Tre'Davious White, mostly the biggest name that's missing from that defense. But I mean, that's every reason to lose that game. So I see them winning. I see them going into Jacksonville 2.0 over the seas, taking that 6 hour nap and saying, yo, they're going to expect us to want to throw this ball out. They're going to expect us to do whatever. Let's just simplify this offense. They're going to treat it like a Thursday night game and really, I mean, I guess try to run this out. It would be really nice to see them utilize this run game and show the league and everyone else that they're not a one-dimensional offense, that they can get the ball done, hold on to the ball, and win this ball game. This is going to be a pretty good win for them this week.
I think, to your point, Tev, we're going to see a bounce back game by not only one, but both of the running games. We saw James Cook rush for about 2.5 yards per carry. Travis Etienne also didn't eclipse 3 yards per carry last week. I think we're going to see this one play out a lot more on the ground. I know we're going both defenses, while having notable names, are in some relatively dire straits. The Jaguars have seemed inconsistent all season, while the Bills are welcoming back Von Miller, yes, but losing Tre'Davious White. That would seem to open things up for the air, but the Bills still have a solid secondary, and things still seem to be a little clunky when it comes to that Trevor Lawrence Calvin Ridley connection. So, as much as I want to buy into the Jaguars and their home field advantage, I'm with Tev. I'm taking the Bills here. Josh Allen, I think the time difference might throw him off. I think he might throw a pick or two. When he rides high, I think that sometimes, just like with any player, can cause for a bounce, or the opposite of a bounce back game, a little bit of like a get cold game, if you will. So maybe Josh Allen will be humbled a bit. And this game, in my opinion, will probably have a lower score than we think. But give me the Bills. I think it's going to be something like 20-14. I think we might see them have to secure this one at the end with a game-winning touchdown or even a game-winning field goal. I just think that the Bills are the better team, and the Jaguars aren't playing up to the potential that I think they have. Maybe later in the season, this would be a more of a matchup for me to consider, but for now, I'm definitely taking the Bills. And with that, I want to bring us to a game featuring two other AFC contenders. We're seeing the Baltimore Ravens go into Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, who might get Kenny Pickett back from the bone bruise from the knee, and after initially being feared of some meniscus damage, some MCL damage, all those proving to be a bone bruise. Lamar Jackson, 2-3 against Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin's crew. Do we think that he's going to get to 3-3 this week?
I absolutely do. I think this is going to be a game that I don't think this Pittsburgh defense can handle this offense. Like this is not the Baltimore Ravens offense of old with Greg Roman as the OC. This is a new passing offense. This is like brand new Lamar Jackson. This is the best he's played in honestly the last time he won the MVP. I don't think their momentum's going to stop. I think the Ravens are going to go in here and beat them pretty dominantly with Matt Canada's offense not playing great and allegedly was found using a burner Twitter account. Saw that this week, thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, honestly, give me the Ravens. I think this game for the Steelers is going to be a disaster.
Tev, this is also your team this year, so I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about the Ravens.
Big trust. I mean, the Ravens, like I said, the Ravens are in a weird spot this year, where they have a fountain of youth that is coming in, but they also have those same vets that we basically troll them for. And they're in a really, really good spot where Lamar is playing out of his mind. That fountain of youth is giving them, obviously, that little look that they wanted. And, I mean, they've been blessed with going against Matt Canada this week. I don't know if anyone saw the clip of the Steelers kicker saying, basically, in the heart of a win, walking behind their OC and saying, this isn't because of you. I can guarantee you this is not because of you. And then that same OC hopping on his burner and basically saying he wants Tomlin out of there, wants that kicker out of there, and wants to take over the job after the win. We're watching probably an internal burn of the Steelers. The Steelers are just one of those teams like the Patriots, like those historic Packers, where you don't hear about internal problems necessarily compared to these newer teams and these other teams. I feel like there's something internally going on, and Kenny Pickett isn't helping. Kenny Pickett not playing up to his level and not necessarily, and also being hurt isn't helping at all. So yeah, Steelers might lose next, I want to say 3 to 4 games if they can't figure something out offensively. Man, Matt Canada needs to get fired. I don't know what Matt Canada needs to be out of there.
He's the one that I look at as the long overdue firing. I think he should have been out of there last year. I think while you do want to keep some consistency with your rookie quarterback, that we saw this happening as long as Matt Canada could have been the offense coordinator. We had some high hopes for the Steelers. They have some great names. I think George Pickens is still going to be a dog. I think Deontay Johnson looked much, much better before Kenny Pickett got in as starter. He was the guy before Kenny Pickett was there. I think that those two receivers, they're in good hands, but Johnson's still out. And now Muth's doubtful as well. Tight end Pat Fryermuth. So even if Kenny Pickett rushes back to make it for this game, I think he's going to be tossed into a tough situation, as he will be for the rest of the season. We're looking at the highest potential chance of Mike Tomlin losing his winning season record. I think it's gone on for 16, 17 seasons at this point, or at this point it's
Mm-hmm.
at least in the teens. But definitely in danger of losing that this year because of the Steelers' ineptitude. 30th in total offensive yards and 30th in total defensive yards. I don't see any reason to go against the Ravens. Lamar Jackson had some fumbles, lost 3, I think fumbled totally 6, or fumbled in total 6, but 8 total touchdowns to go along with that. 4 passing, 4 rushing. Zay Flowers has a very nice target rate where he's getting 24 catches on those 29 targets that he's gotten through his first 4 games. He's been a big weapon for Lamar Jackson, while his other weapons, Rashad Bateman and Odell Beckham Jr., have been hurt. Mark Andrews is finally back. The Ravens have it going for them. Give me the Ravens. And
Also, a key component going into this matchup, Marlon Humphrey's expected to play this week, first time this season as well.
Marlon Humphrey's expected to make his debut. Yep. Give me the Ravens. I think that adds an extra point or 2 on my prediction, but I'll leave the numbers to Charlie. Now I'm going to bring us forward to another divisional matchup happening in the 1 o'clock slate of windows. The Tennessee Titans going into Indianapolis and playing Anthony Richardson and the Colts, and probably Gardner Minshew too, because we've seen how infrequently Anthony Richardson can finish games in such a dangerous offense. That being said, I think as long as Richardson stays healthy, the Colts have this quarterback battle. Ryan Tannehill, even after a relatively impressive game against Cincinnati, still threw a pick. Still 2-4 touchdown to interception ratio. Derrick Henry has a touchdown pass. Maybe we think about putting him in as the passer. How do we feel about the Titans heading into Indianapolis?
I really don't think that this game's going to be a pretty easy matchup for the Titans, because with Anthony Richardson, really good mobile quarterback, they're getting Jonathan Taylor back. They also have Zach Moss. I think this could be a really good game for Michael Pittman, because the Titans are one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL. I really don't think this is going to be a good matchup for the Titans, so I'm going to take Indianapolis this week.
I mean, this game might be one of the games that I'm wrong in. I can't start voting for Indy now. And just because my bias against the fact that Indy is killing all their young players, I'm voting against Indy. And I don't care if they have a bye week. I will vote that their bye week will beat them. I hope Indy basically loses out every game, so it kind of blows up in their face. Yeah, like I said, I hope they lose every game. I hope they have some bright spots. Obviously, they're going to have some bright spots in Anthony Richardson, Downs, and I mean, the run game should be back, but I mean, I hope that they crash and burn for the next 5 years.
Yeah, that pass defense, I know it's relatively suspect, but Jeffrey Simmons leading the way for this defensive front against the Colts offensive line that hasn't necessarily improved. I have a lot of reasons to like the Titans in this one. They're going against a rookie quarterback. Mike Vrabel is no slouch of a coach. He just took it to Joe Burrow. Once again, I know he's dealing with the calf issue, but a win's a win. I know I've been told that a few times this season. So in this case, I look at the Tennessee Titans' 2 wins against the Chargers and their win last week against the Bengals. Those are 2 contenders, 2 teams that made the playoffs. The Colts didn't make the playoffs. They won 4 games last year? Yeah, they're getting Jonathan Taylor back. And yeah, Jonathan Taylor had 861 yards last year. He might not be fully back in the first few games. I know running backs can sometimes look fresh, but I think that this Titans team is going to come out ready for the Colts, and I think the Colts are going to have a little bit of a warming up process. Who's going to be the head of this offense? Is it Anthony Richardson still going to take all those reckless touches? Is Jonathan Taylor fully going to take over as the rusher? Is Zach Moss going to stay involved? There are so many questions I have for Steichen and the Colts going into this one. I don't think that I'm on Tev's side in terms of hoping they'll lose every game. I hope they just protect their quarterback a little better so we get to watch him for more years. But at least in this game, give me the Titans. Shaq Leonard, as a little additional thing, is not practicing so far this week, so that's another name missing from the Colts defense. So, yeah, I'm with Tev here. Give me the Titans.
You guys are doing it again. You guys are going against me. I don't know.
We
That's
don't
the
mean
greatest
to.
idea, you know.
We're just you're just missing your brain trust with Zach this week. So I know it feels a little lonely over there, but for more
You know what? I like
all
to be alone.
purposes.
You know what? I love to be alone, Matt and Tev. You know what? I can't wait till
Wow.
they embarrass you guys. I'm gonna be on the Colts hype train, man. Let's go DUI
Listen,
Jim Irsay. Let's go.
listen, no. Listen. Jim Irsay needs to be investigated by the FBI because the way he's letting generational talents go down, someone's gotta say it and stand on it. Man, I need to see this organization burn.
It's a business. People lose their jobs and people get new jobs.
Oh,
Learn how to deal
man.
with it.
Well spoken.
I don't know where I stand in this in this one. I don't think I'm taking a horse in this race. So I'm instead going to bring us to. That would be such a good transition if we had the Broncos Jets game next. But I'm going to bring us to someone I guess who rides a horse. We're gonna go with the Texans. That's gonna be the transition. We're going with the Texans Falcons next. 2-2 Texans with C.J. Stroud, 300 yards per game, no interceptions yet so far this season. Versus Desmond Ridder and the Falcons. Ridder throwing for less than 200 yards per game and has 3 interceptions to his name this season. However, Bijan Robinson in the backfield, Drake London out wide, maybe Kyle Pitts gets loose this week. Where do we lie with this game? Are we taking the Falcons or are we taking the Texans?
In this game, I think the Falcons will come out here and kind of shock a lot of people because I know the Texans are kind of a hot team. I had the hot hand right now with C.J. Stroud not throwing a pick and playing honestly like a rookie Justin Herbert. It reminds me a lot of like a rookie Justin Herbert. But I think this is going to be a game where you're going to see a lot of hiccups with this offense. I think they're going to come down back to earth. I think this run game with Dameon Pierce having a pretty solid game last week. I think he's going to regress again against Grady Jarrett and this pretty solid defensive line for the Falcons. But yeah, I think Bijan Robinson's going to have another great game. And give me the Falcons in this one.
I mean, you're not alone this time. I'm siding with you. I'm taking the Falcons. But I'm going to take it for a different reason. This defense is very, very, very tough. They're a senior defense. Stat wise, I'm pretty sure they're top 3 oldest defense, which doesn't sound right. But when you have vet DBs and vet linebackers disguising and showing different things to a rookie quarterback, it's kind of a wake up call, especially if they're a really good defense and they have. Name wise, their safety Jesse Bates got 2 picks against another fellow rookie, Bryce Young. Yeah, necessarily getting 2 picks. We're going to see, I feel like, a sloppy game from CJ. This might be CJ's first, quote unquote, bad game. He's not going to look bad. I'm not saying he's going to look atrocious, but I feel like this is going to be a defensive game and Atlanta's going to get the best of it because when they get the ball back, they're going to be able to hold it for a good chunk of the quarter and the time. So this is going to come down to time possession. It's going to come down to defense, and the Atlanta Falcons are going to be able to inch it out just because of that.
I agree with you. I also agree about the prediction. I'm also going with the Falcons, but I'll also explain why. I also agree that this game's going to play out very sloppily. I think these are 2 teams that are going to have a lot of answers for the rookie stars on both teams. I think as much as CJ Stroud is probably going to throw his first interception, either to Jesse Bates or AJ Terrell, one of the names that litter that impressive defense. Who knows? Maybe even Calais Campbell gets in on the fun and gets one of those little fat picks that we see at the defensive line because he signed with the Falcons this offseason. But For every reason that I bring up, Stroud might maybe potentially struggling. I think Bijan Robinson could be slowed down. D'Amico Ryans is a defensive coach. Bijan Robinson has faced a 8-man box 30% of the time while he's in the backfield, and I see no reason to let up on that until Desmond Ridder proves us with his arm. I think teams are going to try to test and see how many guys they can get on that box and really try to toy with Bijan Robinson. So far, it hasn't been phasing him, but just like CJ Stroud's going to have his off days, I think Bijan is too. This one is ultimately going to be won by the defense. I think Jesse Bates is going to end up with an interception. That's I don't want to call it a bold prediction, but I think that Jesse Bates gets his 4th pick of the season. He also has a forced fumble this year. And I'm impressed with what the Falcons can do. Damian Pierce is still struggling to get going. So there's a lot to like about the Texans for the upcoming season. I think on a 2-game win streak, though, I just don't see them making it 3 just yet. Give me the Falcons. Now that we wrapped up our 1 p.m. slot of games, we are now going to be brought into the 4 p.m. slot, where there are quite a few interesting matchups happening, including our Jets taking care of business against the team that's been slandering our offensive coordinator since the minute we got him. Sean Payton and the Broncos think they could do a better job of coaching than former head coach Nathaniel Hackett, who was fired with a week left to his first season as a head coach. Now we're seeing Sean Payton struggle immensely as the head coach of the Broncos, and a big statement game for them against the New York Jets. How are we feeling about this game?
I think this is going to be another Zach Wilson masterclass. This Broncos defense has absolutely shocked people on how bad they are. And honestly, just this week, they actually cut former Cowboys edge rusher Randy Gregory after signing him to a big contract last year, back in the offseason in 2022. And I don't think the Broncos woes are going to stop. I think it's going to keep on going with Breece Hall finally getting the full workload. Maybe Dalvin Cook, without also Dalvin Cook regressing. I just think this is going to be a big game for the Jets. This is a must-win game for the Jets in general. I'm going to take the Jets. I think even with DJ Reed out with a concussion, I still think we handle business in Denver. Give me the Jets.
I mean, I might sound like a Jets fan if I say it, but yeah, I say the Jets too for those same exact reasons. Just to add the fact that Russell Wilson hasn't been looking too sharp, besides the fact that he's been having to come back and play that. I mean, it's easier to look good in a comeback than to look good throughout the whole game, because when your back's against the wall and you could say, F it, I'm going to just throw this ball, or F it, there's no calculation to what I'm doing, I'm just going to do whatever. It looks better than when you're playing bad and you're basically losing by 50 points and there's no comeback. I really think that there's not going to be able to come back. This defense is a lot better than the defenses that they've seen, especially when they were down. Yeah, I see the Jets doing really well and Zach Wilson doing really well against this battered team.
Yeah, I don't think the Broncos have played a defense like us. And Russell Wilson, if he continues to play like he does during his comebacks, he's going to be a dangerous quarterback. But he doesn't always. There's still points where this team looks extremely lackadaisical, especially on offense. The defense is just consistently bad. Pat Surtain is someone who became a household name for football fans last season based on how well he covered receivers and eliminated the number 1 receiver on the field. Pat Surtain has simply taken a step back along with the rest of this defense. We're seeing passing attacks get loose on them. Justin Fields just scored 4 touchdowns, and 2 weeks ago we were talking about if he's ever going to be an NFL-worthy thrower. Now, I don't know. I think there's a lot of storylines heading into this game. The other one is Breece Hall out for the year, tearing his knee when we played Week 7 last year, winning that game 16-13. There's a lot of narrative to this game, and between the narrative, between what I see on the field, between the newfound maturity of Zach Wilson, which I praised very much last week, and I will continue to do so if that's the steps that he's going to take, I'm behind this Jets team. I have the most optimism for them than I've had since Rodgers has snapped the Achilles, and I think a lot of Jets fans can share that sentiment. Give me the Jets in this one. We are once again on the same page. And Another game that's going on in the 4 o'clock window, I don't think we're going to be on the same page. The Eagles are going to the West Coast to play Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, who's making his season debut, and Puka Nakua, Tutu Atwell, Kyron Williams, and all these newfound Rams weapons on offense. I think that the Rams have a lot of weapons to go pound for pound with the Eagles. Do we agree with that sentiment, or am I getting ahead of myself?
I think you are getting ahead of yourself there, Matt. I don't think they really match up. I think that honestly, you got to see what happens with what you said with Cooper Kupp coming off IR and probably expecting to play this Sunday. You're gonna have to see what happens with Puka Nakua. The target shares going on. I think this could be an interesting case of maybe the Rams probably getting a one up over the Eagles going to the West Coast from the East Coast, but in that way, I don't think that's going to happen. Though I think this Eagles defensive line is still going to attack the quarterback. This Rams offensive line is still not there to really handle a defensive line like that. And I think Matt Stafford's going to get beaten up a lot. I think this is a type of game that the Eagles are going to look really good in. They do have the hot hand after winning that really good game against Washington in overtime. A.J. Brown having a crazy game. And I think that's going to continue. I say give me the Philadelphia Eagles in this one.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, to respect, Eagles are hot, but like you said, this matchup. I mean, at times we'd see the Rams look stagnant, like we did last week, when they went up big. But then you got to look at it both sides. When you're up big, you kind of don't unlock your whole playbook. It's going to be a close game through and through. We're going to see Matt Stafford look good at times, bad at times, but it's going to get covered up more with Cooper Kupp back. Cooper Kupp's one of those guys where he doesn't have to practice every day to be good. You don't need him to show up at practice. You don't need him to show up through walkthroughs on Saturday, or you don't need him to show up through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practices, and then walkthroughs on Saturdays, Friday film. You don't need him there every day. He's one of those guys that when he does show up, he makes that immediate impact, and he's able to help out the Pakus and the Tutus or whoever, all these different names that they drafted, man. I'm respectively to all of them. They're all great players. But Cooper Kupp's back. It's going to be hard.
I think Cooper Kupp's going to make his presence felt on the field. And while I respect your sentiments and I see how they could poorly match up into this Eagles team, let's talk about how this Eagles pass defense is 27th ranked in the league. They are missing Avonte Maddox, their starting slot cornerback. They've had to move people around in the defensive backfield. Reed Blankenship is getting a lot of snaps, and he's still a young player despite being a bit of a standout there at the safety spot. I think the Eagles are going to have a very tough task ahead of them to keep their undefeated record ongoing on the other side of the country against the Rams because of the fact that the Rams are probably going to look a little more polished on offense than they have. And that's a scary thought because Kyron Williams already ran for 100 yards. We saw Puka Nakua with, the most catches by a rookie throughout 5 games so far in a season ever. And he's only played 4 games. I think that's really impressive, and I don't think he's going to disappear just because Cooper Kupp's there. So Darius Slay and James Bradbury can't do it all for the Eagles, even with Jalen Carter looking like a young Aaron Donald. One stat I do want to throw out there before I give my pick is despite having 32 less snaps than Aaron Donald, Jalen Carter is second in the league behind Donald with 20 pressures. To me, I think this guy is potentially going to be an All-Pro in his first year. And while the Eagles are going to have a solid defense, and I think they're going to match up well into a lot of teams, I think that this Rams offense can hang with them. And for that, I'm taking the Rams.
Wow. But one little point before we move on is that early this week, the Eagles did sign former Saints and Broncos corner Bradley Roby in there, so he's probably expected to probably go in there and play the slot role, play like the Avonte Maddox type of role with him being out for the season.
That's nothing to me until I see him on the field. All these cornerbacks are I feel like we've seen players like Chris Harris, Cam Hayward. We've seen players like that through the years go from stars to afterthoughts over the course of 1 year. So with all respect to Bradley Roby, fantastic player. I believe he's been a Pro Bowler too. I just don't think that he's going to be any sort of instant fix for this team. Not unless they get a trade asset in the pull someone in that's been through the grind of the season so far, maybe been in a training camp somewhere. And with that, I want to bring us to a game between two teams that are sure to produce some offensive fireworks as long as the Chiefs get it on track. Their Chiefs offense, yeah, they're still top 10 in points per game, but receivers are still struggling to get open. And now they're heading into Minnesota against a team with defensive struggles. Is this the week where the Chiefs open things up on offense, or could we see Kirk Chainz get active in the 4 o'clock time slot?
I kind of think the Vikings are gonna maybe make this game very competitive. I think hopefully Kevin O'Connell studied Sunday night's game against the Jets and saw that how to carve up this defense because Lazard looked really good last week. And maybe they could do the same thing with like Jefferson or Addison, or maybe even KJ Osborne can have a good game. I like him as well. But in the end, I do think this is still going to be a Chiefs win. I think both quarterbacks are going to play very well, though. I think Isaiah Pacheco's going to have another good week like he did last week, but I still think the Chiefs are going to go in here and win.
I mean, to continue, Charlie kind of hit it on the nail right there. We're starting to, we were talking about it beforehand. Besides the fact that the Chiefs came close to you guys, that was really the best defense they saw. Kirk past 1 o'clock, I've been saying it all year, Kirk is ready like playing roulette. Then you add the fact that it's past 1 o'clock, you better hope your number hits. Unless his number hits, I don't have any hope in him. I'm sorry to all the Vikings fans and everything. I feel like this is kind of like a setup year for Kirk at this point. Like I said, they're out of the playoffs. They only have 1 win, 3 losses in a very competitive division and a very competitive NFC this year. Yeah, teams are looking worse, but then there's teams on the come up like the Lions. There's a handful of teams this year that are coming up that could easily replace them. So, yeah, I think that there's going to be a Travis Kelce masterclass. Swifties are going to see a great game by him, and they're going to really steamroll this team. Justin Jefferson might look good. That's the only thing I really see showing out on this Vikings team. Past the 1 o'clock stand.
I have the Chiefs underlined to once again win this game, so I am with you guys. But if this were a 1 o'clock game, I think I'd be taking the Vikings. There's so much I like about the Vikings in this matchup. I think TJ Hawkinson has established himself as the second best tight end in the league and is going to threaten Travis Kelce for the spot if Kelce, develops some injuries as he gets a little older with age or heads into the later years of his career being more of a part-time player. That's not going to be shocking. We saw Gronk transition to that point in his career too once he hit the mid-30s. I think that this team in Minnesota is dangerous, and I think that there's a part of me that I'm going to refrain from because on the picks that I impulsively changed last week, I went 0-2. So I'm not changing any picks this week. I'm keeping with the Chiefs, no matter how much I want to go with Kirk Chainz. 11 touchdowns, 104 passer rating. Justin Jefferson's already got 550 yards and 3 touchdowns this season. This ball is getting around to some weapons, and if Alexander Mattison showed that he could be the player that he was last week every week, I think that the Vikings could control this game on the Chiefs, much like we saw the Jets did just a week ago. Unfortunately, I think Madison is due for some regression. I think the Vikings are going to be missing players like Marcus Davenport, who could make a difference in this game if he were to play. I don't see the Vikings getting over the hump against this talented of a team. Give me the Chiefs. And before we get to, of course, America's game of the potential year with the Cowboys 49ers game, I wanted to get the attention onto a game happening in Arizona between a team that was predicted to do pretty bad this year and a team that's predicted to be a contender and so far has not. The Cincinnati Bengals were supposed to bounce back and hit a true midseason form after their win against the Rams, but let's be honest, they didn't look fully back against the Rams, and with the Titans, they seem like they are being held back from putting Joe Burrow on the field with that injury. I think that while the Bengals are in a tough situation, this is a potential get-right game heading into Arizona. What about you guys?
What I think is that I still don't trust this Cincinnati offense. with Joe Burrow's calf strain. I think it's kind of like the nail in the coffin so far for this offense. Is that this that calf injury has killed this momentum of this offense. Jamar Chase hasn't looked like the elite receiver he's been. T. Higgins has been kind of quiet so far on the year. Mixon hasn't looked really that great. But on the other hand, the other side of the ball, Cardinals look really good. The Cardinals look like they play with a lot of heart. They believe in Jonathan Gannon. He's been playing pretty well besides last week. Well, you're going against the 49ers. That's always a tough matchup. But in this week, I hope I'm the only one this week, but I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals to upset the Cincinnati Bengals. I think I'm going to be joining the Arizona Cardinals hype train this week. Shout out Josh Dobbs.
I respect it. I'm getting excited just hearing that, Charlie. And before I go fully into it, Tev, I want to hear your thoughts.
I know where you're gonna go with this. I hate doing this, but I'm gonna have to go against the Cardinals. Joe Burrow was banged up, but Jamar Chase has looked sharp for most parts. Throughout the games that he actually touches the ball, I feel like they gotta. At this point, if you're not gonna sit him, they gotta stop getting the ball downfield. They gotta get the ball out of his hand as quick as possible. I feel like this is the game to do it. This is the game to really get everyone else involved. And we've said it for other teams for them to bounce back against the Cardinals. And this isn't a Cardinals team that we thought was going to roll over and let teams beat them because their quarterback is gone, because their main guy was the leader of the locker room and regime and everything. They're kind of going against what we kind of expect when teams do that. And they're winning games, and they're winning games early. Or they're looking competitive, while doing it. They're not just letting teams beat them by 50 like we expected them to. But I feel like the Bengals need this. The Bengals need this a lot more than the Cardinals need it. And yeah, this offense is looking bad, really, really bad. And it's not only the O-line. So I really hope this offense could do what they could do, and Jamar Chase and company help propel Joe Burrow.
I would love to say that I'm going with the Cardinals. I don't think I have it in me this week. There's a lot to like, and I'm so happy that Charlie is carrying on my torch of Cardinal support. I think this is a scrappy team, and even if they don't win many more games this year, I respect what we see out of John Gannon and his crew. I respect what we see out of Josh Dobbs. I think he's earned a spot, even if not as a starter in this league, as a top career backup. I think now we're going to see Josh Dobbs be regarded in a much different light than when we saw him traded, waived, and signed. However he drifted, floated into Arizona, he's getting a much better treatment on his way out. If he even leaves, maybe that's the guy that's going to be behind Kyler for the foreseeable future, kind of take that Geno role, where how we saw Geno play for Russ in Seattle. Just be ready to be that guy whenever he is. That being all said, there's one other notable Cardinal that I want to note is an undrafted free agent back in 2018 out of Sioux Falls. I don't know how to say that. Dennis Gardeck. He's an outside linebacker for the Cardinals. He's been a pass rusher. He has 4 sacks, kind of come out of nowhere to be one of the better pass rushers in the league and contribute to a feisty Cardinals defense. I just think that even with Joe Burrow's injury, this Bengals team has shown that they're well coached. Zach Taylor is no slouch of a coach, especially once he gets things going for the season. I know things might be shaken up. I just don't think that this Bengals offense is going to get any worse than what we saw last week. I think that this is a much different task to play the Cardinals than it is to play the Titans. And I think that we are going to see Jamar Chase break loose and once again kind of put this game on his back like we saw against the Rams. This is another inexperienced defense, and I see no reason why a proven offense will continue to struggle with this. I feel like any week Cincinnati will go back to being the same old Cincinnati Bengals we've seen from the last 2 years. So give me the Bengals in hopes of that.
You guys are doing it again.
I'm sorry, Charlie.
I knew you were going to say that.
Your guys are downing G.I. Dobbs. I love this man. This man is one of the most surprising quarterbacks going into this year. No one expected him to play well. But honestly, a good comparison that reminds me a lot of Josh Dobbs is honestly the Washington backup, Jacoby Brissett. On short, if like God forbid the quarterback gets hurt, you got to throw someone in there on short notice. Jacoby
Yeah, Josh
Brissett
Dobbs is like the
kind of
mobile
plays.
variant of Jacoby Brissett. I feel like Brissett's more of like the stand in the pocket guy, and Dobbs is like can actually make a play with his legs. So different scheme,
Actually,
but
people don't know
definitely
that
same
Brissett
role.
can make a play on his legs unless he really has to. He's the type of guy who can run, but he's mostly a pocket passer. But he can run if he really has to.
Noted. Yeah, no, I mean, I've never really seen him take off, but honestly, I digress. And I'm going to bring us into the matchup we've all been waiting for. Dallas 3-1, only lost to the Cardinals we were just talking about in a huge upset, going against the undefeated San Francisco 49ers in what could potentially be an NFC Championship preview. The 49ers have not lost a game outside of the one that Brock Purdy hurt his elbow in and lost the ability to throw. 16-0 outside of the NFC Championship game ever since acquiring Christian McCaffrey. And Christian McCaffrey, 13 straight games with a touchdown. Just so much to like about the San Francisco offense, and such a narrative to make you feel like this is going to be the game where they drop one. Am I the only one who thinks that this is the first time we've seen the 49ers have a narrative build around them since they've gotten McCaffrey? This feels like a long overdue grabbing of the spotlight by the 49ers.
I think Brock Purdy's still going to be 17-0 this week. In the regular season, I don't think this Cowboys defense is gonna like kind of handle this 49ers offense that well because of one main reason, because Trayvon Diggs is not there. You have Stephon Gilmore as your best corner. I don't think DeRon Bland's gonna have a really good week against whoever, if he's gonna be guarding Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel. I don't think that he's gonna fare well against him. But I think Christian McCaffrey's going to have another good game. I'm hoping for another Kittle masterclass. I think this is a game that Kittle could break out and have a really good week. And I think Brock Purdy's going to take this Dallas defense and kind of make them look like Swiss cheese a little bit. So I'm going to take the 49ers in this matchup.
As much as I want to go against the 49ers, and I wanted to actually bring that up to you guys. I mean, I don't see him scoring this week necessarily, but even to that regard, I forgot Michael Parsons. He's in the air as well. Yeah, I mean, this team's really hard to beat. Besides my Ravens, big trust, I see this team really making a push for the Super Bowl. This is another team that just looks so crisp. Like, watching them play, it isn't fair. Their defense is on fire. Offense is on fire. We didn't even bring up their linebacking crew, who's possibly the best linebacking crew that we've seen since Lord knows when. I don't know. Give me the 49ers. I don't see the Cowboys being able to do something. And Dak. I hate Dak. You guys know that.
Shout out Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman, two great 49ers linebackers of the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah, they're just beating their own record at this point. Great linebackers, homegrown. Like, what could you do about that?
Yeah, it just seems
Absolutely.
unreal what the 49ers have built out there, and they seem to do it behind the scenes, I feel, in terms of the NFL headlines. We see teams like the Dolphins, teams like the Eagles, teams like the Chiefs getting all the headlines, but the San Francisco 49ers now find themselves at the pinnacle of the NFL. I think Christian McCaffrey is the pinnacle of NFL players right now. We're seeing the value a running back can have, and he's changing the market single-handedly. He's leading the league in scrimmage yards, rushing yards per game, total touchdowns. It's amazing what we're seeing this player do. Pretty much, I know it's not single-handedly. I know that running games need everyone in on it to succeed and look at like this, but he's making defenders look silly. I feel like if you put anyone else in there, you're losing quite a bit of value. I just think Christian McCaffrey has looked superhuman ever since he's gone to the San Francisco 49ers. And as Tev mentioned, Michael Parsons with his knee is probably questionable leading into this matchup, and losing Trayvon Diggs against Brock Purdy, who has not thrown an interception yet this season. Maybe that ends. That's always hard to predict, but I'm with you guys. I can't hide it. I don't have enough faith in the Cowboys to pull the upset on this one, and it's truly going to be an upset. I think the 49ers are the clear favorites here and clearly match up very well with this Cowboys team. So give me the 49ers, 3-0.
I can't complain with that. But the
Yeah.
one thing I do have a concern about the 49ers with is their offensive line, especially on the right side.
Right.
Like I said a few weeks ago, I don't. I if they're gonna if the Cowboys have the best chance to win, it's that they have to attack the right side of the offensive line. Like they still have going against one on one with like Micah Parsons against Trent Williams. You're not going to win that. I think if you move him on the right side where Mike McGlinchey used to be, now he's not there. He's in Denver now. I think that's the best way to attack this 49ers offense. But if they don't, I think they're kind of screwed.
It seems like Charlie has identified, if anything, a little opening in the armor of this super team that the 49ers have developed for themselves. And we'll see if the Cowboys take his advice. I want to highlight real quick, we're not going to make our predictions, but Monday night we do have the 2-2 Packers going to the 1-3 Las Vegas Raiders over in Vegas. We're seeing Devontae Adams' revenge game. Like I said, we're not going to really get into it too much. We also have Chiefs Broncos, which we're going to make our prediction for on the other side of this weekend for our Week 5 NFL review. Any final parting thoughts from you guys on our way out of this podcast today?
I just hope that Sean Payton gets embarrassed and he starts crying on the sideline and regrets his take about my offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Like, dude, this guy hasn't been irrelevant since 2009. He's an overrated coach. Sean Payton sucks. Let's go Jets.
Some bold
Um,
proclamations right there. I'm not right there. I like Sean Payton. I can't say that, but
Fuck Sean Payton. All my homies hate Sean Payton.
I'm hoping that we do see a very comfortable Jets win. It'll feel like a true return to form after the Broncos game was truly one of our brightest spots before Brees got hurt. Tev, your thoughts on what you want to see this week?
I have two thoughts. I mean, to continue on what Charlie said, yeah, Sean Payton hasn't been relevant since the Obama administration. I want this deal to blow up in Denver's face. So yeah, I really want to see like Sean Payton low key be the first coach to be fired, which is not gonna happen. But
Happen.
yeah, it's not gonna happen. But yeah, I hope that you guys get that win. And I want to see. I say this every week so far. I feel like I want to see Bryce either get the offensive playbook opened up for him, or like a play call change, or sit him. That's one of the two for me at this point. And I feel like over Twitter and everything, Panthers fans feel the same. So yeah, or fire our GM Scott Fritter, because at this point he's been just doing bad moves after DJ Moore, man.
Yeah,
And I also have a question for you, Tev, as well. I heard a lot with the rumors about the Carolina Panthers actively trying to get a number one wide receiver. Out of the receivers who are kind of available through the trade rumors, which receiver would be best to fit the Panthers?
Best fit Jerry Judy. Best like upside would be Jamo Williams. It's really more so which team is more willing to take a second rounder. Yeah, second and a third rounder. Panthers typically don't draft well in that time, like in that frame, second to third round. First round, we usually do produce pretty good hits, the last few years at least. For the last few years, we haven't had any notable late picks. I mean, it's hard to hit in the draft, but it's really harder to hit later. And we're one of those teams that just don't hit later in the draft. Yeah, if we could get rid of our second and third, if we say fuck those picks, go all the way. Go get a Jamo Williams, let him develop with Bryce in the NFL. They look good in college. So try to go get a Jamo Williams, if not Jerry Judy. I really like Jerry Judy in our offensive fit with Adam Thielen.
a couple options
Honestly,
from
for a wide
Alabama.
receiver that to me that kind of makes sense for the Panthers is actually wide receiver Marquise Brown. I think he fits that offense. I think they need speed on the outside. Someone that could just take the top off the defense. I think kind of scheme wise, I think it makes sense for the Panthers. Pending if the Cardinals really disappoint against Cincinnati, which obviously I know that's not going to happen because I'm a genius. But I think that does make sense.
I think my
I saw
prediction
T.
might not
Higgins
be
win.
as was it beautiful. It might not be something we'll tangibly see happen. But last week we brought up Kyle Pitts. Let's see Kyle Pitts go over to a division rival and make himself useful. But we have
That's crazy.
I throw that one in right at the buzzer to say that our podcast is wrapping up now. I appreciate you guys for tuning in with us today. Tev, Charlie, we have a big week of football ahead of with us. We're going to see teams like the Ravens take on the Steelers. We're going to see Bryce Young potentially right the ship over in Carolina, and hopefully we see Sean Payton get embarrassed against our New York Jets. And we will know those answers Monday when we gather again. Hopefully Zach will be with us. It's been a rough week without him. Hopefully he's been keeping track of his picks so he can come and let us know how he's been faring in the picks department. That's all to be saved for next time. In the meantime, enjoy your football. I know I will. I'm Matt.
I'm Charlie.
And I'm Tev.
One thing I am realizing is, Tev, you don't have your camera this week, so no remote. We got a marker here, though, so let's see if this will work.